Stop for a moment. The last time you saw 811, what were you thinking about? Was it a person you cannot understand? A decision you keep delaying? A future that feels close, yet somehow out of reach? That detail matters more than the number itself, because 811 is not useful when it becomes another prediction to collect. It becomes useful when it reveals the exact place where your life is asking for a decision. Here is the meaning immediately. In numerology traditions, 8 is connected with strength, balance, responsibility, and completed cycles. 1 is connected with identity, initiative, and beginnings. 2 ones can be read as the beginning happening twice. First inside your mind, then through your behavior. So the practical message of 811 is simple. Keep the lesson. Choose the direction. Prove the choice with one action. But there is a warning hidden inside that message. Many people see 811 and wait for life to move first. They keep checking clocks, receipts, and comments for reassurance. That can turn a spiritual sign into a comfortable form of delay. Before this message ends, I will give you the 811 test that separates meaningful guidance from anxious pattern chasing. I will also show you 3 signs that a new season has already started, even if nothing outside you looks different yet. The first sign is happening quietly. Things that once satisfied you now leave you tired. The same conversations feel empty. The same routine feels heavier. The same approval no longer feels like enough. This does not automatically mean you should leave your job, end a relationship, or change your entire life tonight. It means your inner standards may have changed before your outer circumstances did. Pay attention to the difference between boredom and misalignment. Boredom says, entertain me. Misalignment says, this is costing me too much of myself. Boredom disappears when something becomes exciting. Misalignment returns even after rest, distraction, and temporary improvement. If the same quiet discomfort keeps returning, do not silence it immediately. Ask what value is being violated. Here is the question that makes the first sign useful. Where am I performing peace instead of experiencing it? Perhaps you smile through disrespect. Perhaps you call exhaustion ambition. Perhaps you call silence maturity because telling the truth could change the relationship. The new season begins when you stop decorating what is draining you. The second sign is repetition. Different face, same wound. Different opportunity, same self-doubt. Different promise, same disappointment. When a lesson repeats, most people ask why life keeps doing this to them. A stronger question is, what response am I being invited to change? The pattern may not be asking for more analysis. It may be asking for a new boundary. Here is the truth nobody says out loud. Understanding a pattern is not the same as ending it. You can describe your wound perfectly and still return to the person who activates it. You can know why you procrastinate and still protect the habit. You can save 100 messages about self-worth while accepting the same treatment. Insight becomes transformation only when the next response changes. Try this now. Complete one sentence. I do not need another example of blank. I do not need another example of inconsistency. I do not need another example of what happens when I ignore my body. I do not need another example of how fear steals time. The answer shows you which lesson may already be complete. The third sign is surprising. Your fear is still present, but it is losing its authority. You still feel nervous about the conversation, yet avoiding it feels worse. You still fear rejection, yet never trying has become more painful. You still miss the old person or place, yet returning no longer feels like home. This is not fearlessness. It is leadership returning. Do not wait for confidence before taking the next step. Confidence is often the memory of surviving an earlier step. Before the evidence exists, you may only have willingness. Willingness feels small, but it is enough. It opens the door that confidence later walks through. Now here is a lesser-known fact that changes how you should respond to 811. Your attention does not record everything equally. Once a number becomes important, your mind notices it more often. This is one reason a sequence can suddenly appear everywhere. That does not make your experience meaningless. It means the number has become a spotlight. The real question is what the spotlight is illuminating. Some research has also found that uncertainty can increase the human tendency to search for patterns. So use 811 with wisdom. If seeing it makes you calmer, clearer, and more responsible, it can become a helpful reminder. If it makes you afraid to act without another sign, step back. Guidance should strengthen discernment. It should not create dependency. This is the 811 test. Ask 3 questions. Does this interpretation return me to my values? Does it lead toward an action I can responsibly take? Does it leave room for reality, evidence, and other people's freedom? If the answer is yes, use the symbol as reflection. If the answer is no, you may be feeding anxiety rather than wisdom. That distinction matters because your future should not be handed to a number. Let the number hand you back to yourself. 8 can remind you of strength. 1 can remind you to choose. The final one can remind you to act. The sequence does not need to control events in order to change the way you meet them. Now take the first practical step. It requires 8 minutes, 1 truth, and 1 action. This is the 811 reset, and you can use it every time the number appears. For 8 minutes, remove every distraction. No phone, no music, no searching for another interpretation. Sit with the question that was in your mind when you noticed 811. Do not solve it yet. Notice which thought keeps returning after the surface noise settles. The repeated thought is not always the answer, but it often reveals the emotional center of the decision. Then write 1 truth. Not a beautiful affirmation. Not a prediction. 1 truth you can defend with evidence. I am tired because I keep saying yes when I mean no. This relationship gives me words, but not consistency. I want the opportunity, but I fear being seen trying. I need help with something I cannot carry alone. An honest sentence creates cleaner ground than 100 exciting promises. Finally, complete 1 action before the day ends. Send the message. Open the application, move the money, schedule the appointment, delete the distraction, walk for 10 minutes, write the first paragraph. The action must be small enough to finish and important enough to count. 8 minutes, 1 truth, 1 action. That is how 811 becomes movement instead of entertainment. If this is already giving language to something you have been feeling, subscribe. Not for another prediction, but for messages that help you turn spiritual reflection into a more honest life. Now the deeper question begins. Why can one small action feel so difficult when you already know what to do? Because you are not only changing behavior, you may be challenging an identity. Psychologists who study narrative identity describe the self as an evolving life story. You connect memories and decide what they mean. 1 rejection becomes, I am not chosen. 1 failure becomes, I never finish. 1 betrayal becomes, nobody is safe. These conclusions can feel like facts because they have been repeated for years. Then every new event gets edited to protect the old story. Notice the words always and never. I always ruin good things. I never get the right opportunity. People always leave. These statements turn painful experiences into permanent instructions. Replace identity with behavior. Say, I have repeated this pattern and I am learning a different response. The pain remains acknowledged, but the future is no longer sentenced. Here is a powerful exercise. Give the old season a name. The season of proving, the season of waiting, the season of hiding, the season of carrying everyone. Then name the season you are entering, the season of building, the season of clear boundaries, the season of receiving help, the season of consistent action. A named season gives your choices a filter. Use that filter today. Ask, does this choice belong to the season I am leaving or the season I am entering? Checking their page again may belong to waiting. Sending the proposal may belong to building. Explaining your boundary for the sixth time may belong to proving. Quietly enforcing it may belong to self-respect. The question removes some of the noise. But be careful. A new season identity can become another performance if it is too dramatic. You do not need to announce that everything has changed. You need one repeated behavior that makes the change believable. A seed does not need applause. It needs protection. This is where many beginnings fail. People make a large emotional promise and create no structure around it. Then the emotion fades, the old cue returns, and they interpret one imperfect day as proof that they cannot change. The mistake is not weakness. The mistake is asking emotion to do the job of a plan. Research on implementation intentions offers a better approach. Instead of saying, "I will become disciplined," create an if-then sentence. If it is 7 in the evening, then I will work for 20 minutes. If I feel the urge to send another message, then I will wait 10 minutes and read my written truth. If I see 811, then I will take one breath and complete one action aligned with my new season. A review involving 94 studies found that if-then planning had a meaningful positive effect on people's ability to follow through. The plan works because it connects a visible cue to a chosen response. You do not need to rebuild your intention inside every difficult moment. The decision has already been made in calmer weather. Create one plan, not 10. Too many goals can create the feeling of progress without the reality of it. Choose the behavior that would produce the strongest evidence that you are changing. Make the cue specific. Make the action small. Make it repeatable on an ordinary day. Now check your environment. The old season is often stored in physical cues. The phone beside the bed invites the old morning. The open chat invites the old conversation. The cluttered desk makes the meaningful project harder to begin. Discipline matters, but environment speaks before motivation wakes up. Change one cue. Place the notebook on the chair. Move the distracting application off the home screen. Put the shoes beside the door. Prepare the glass of water. Your environment should make the next right action easier to remember, and the old automatic action slightly harder to reach. Here is another pattern interrupt. You do not need a completely different personality. You need a different response at one familiar moment. The moment after rejection. The moment before you overspend. The moment you want to quit. The moment someone crosses the line. Change that moment repeatedly, and identity begins to follow. Relationships will test the new season quickly. Some people know how to relate only to the version of you that over-explains, over-gives, and forgives without change. When you become clearer, they may say you have changed. They may be right. Change is not automatically cruelty. Ask whether the relationship allows truth without punishment. Can you say no without being threatened? Can you express a need without being mocked? Can conflict lead to repair rather than silence, blame, or confusion? Love is not only the intensity of connection, it is the quality of safety created over time. A boundary is not a speech designed to convince someone. It is a decision about your participation. If the conversation becomes disrespectful, I will leave and return when it is calm. If the promise is broken again, I will make my decision from the pattern rather than the apology. The boundary becomes real when your action supports your words. At the same time, do not label every uncomfortable correction as disrespect. Growth requires humility. Ask whether the moment violates your values or merely challenges your ego. A wise person can disagree with you and still care for you. The goal is not a life without discomfort. The goal is a life where discomfort serves growth rather than repeated harm. Now think about the person you cannot stop thinking about. When 811 appears, you may assume it predicts reunion. Pause. A number cannot replace evidence. Look at consistency. Look at accountability. Look at whether words and actions agree. A spiritual connection that repeatedly destroys your peace still requires practical discernment. Sometimes the new season is not the relationship returning. It is your self-respect returning. Sometimes the answer is not their apology. It is your freedom from needing it. Sometimes closure is not a final conversation. It is accepting the pattern when the person refuses to name it. That may hurt. Grief does not mean the decision is wrong. It means something mattered. You can miss a person and still protect your future. You can love what was real without returning to what was harmful. Two truths can exist together. Here is what to do when emotion becomes too loud. Use your own name. Researchers have found that third-person self-talk can create psychological distance and reduce emotional reactivity. Instead of asking, "Why am I falling apart?" ask, "What does your name need right now?" Speak to yourself as you would speak to someone you want to protect wisely. Say, "You do not need to solve the entire season tonight. You need the next honest step." Notice how different that feels. This does not remove the emotion. It changes your position in relation to it. You become the person responding to the feeling, not only the person being carried by it. Now there is one final trap. Do not turn new season into pressure to feel positive all the time. Growth can include confusion, grief, anger, and rest. A hard day is not proof that the old season has returned. The new version of you is not the version who never struggles. It is the version who returns more quickly. Before you decide what action to take, run a 4-door scan. Most people feel overwhelmed because they try to change every area at once. You only need to identify which door is asking for attention first: your body, your relationships, your work, or your inner life. One door usually carries more weight than the others. Start with your body. Has your body been saying no while your mouth keeps saying yes? Notice headaches, restless sleep, tight shoulders, shallow breathing, or exhaustion that returns after every interaction. These signals do not diagnose the problem, and persistent symptoms deserve proper medical attention. But your body can still reveal where your current pace has become unsustainable. The next season may begin with rest, nourishment, movement, or asking a professional for help. The question for this door is simple. Which daily choice makes my body pay for a life my values no longer want? Do not choose a dramatic cure. Choose one respectful response. Go to bed 30 minutes earlier. Drink the water. Take the walk. Make the appointment. The body trusts repetition more than speeches. Next, scan your relationships. Who leaves you clearer, and who repeatedly leaves you confused? Confusion can happen in healthy relationships, but chronic confusion often appears when words and actions do not match. Stop measuring the connection only by its best moments. Measure the pattern that appears under stress. That pattern predicts the emotional cost of staying the same. The question here is, which truth am I afraid to say because the relationship may change? You do not need to deliver the entire truth in anger. Write it first. Remove blame. Keep the boundary. Then choose the right time and safe method to communicate. If honesty threatens a connection built on your silence, the truth did not destroy it. The truth revealed its condition. Now scan your work and purpose. Are you genuinely preparing, or are you endlessly preparing to avoid being judged? There is a point where another tutorial, another plan, or another revision stops being growth and becomes protection from visibility. Your work cannot receive a response while it remains permanently hidden. Ask, what can I finish and release at 80% instead of protecting at 0%? Send the draft. Publish the first version. Apply before you feel fully qualified. Quality matters, but perfection can become fear wearing professional clothing. The next season may not require a better idea. It may require a finished one. Finally, scan your inner life. What do you repeatedly consume when you feel uncertain? More predictions? More negative news? More content that keeps you emotionally activated but never clearer? Information should help you make a wiser choice. If it only increases urgency, it may be crowding out your own discernment. Ask, what would I hear if I stopped searching for an answer for one day? Give yourself that day. No new interpretation of 811. No asking 5 people what they think. Use the information you already have. Silence is not empty when it allows your own values to become audible. Choose the heaviest door. Do not repair all 4 tonight. Complete one action that reduces pressure in that area. A meaningful new season is not built through emotional overload. It is built through priority. One honest door opened fully is more useful than 4 doors touched without entering. There is another quick test. If the action depends completely on someone else changing, it is not yet your action. They must apologize is an outcome. I will stop chasing an explanation is an action. My employer must notice me is an outcome. I will document my work and request the meeting is an action. Bring the decision back inside your circle of influence. This does not mean accepting unfairness. It means placing your first energy where it can create movement. You can seek justice, support, and accountability while still protecting your daily choices from total dependence on another person. That is not surrender. It is strategic strength. Missing one day does not erase the plan. Sending one emotional message does not cancel every boundary. You correct. You repair. You begin again at the next available moment. Resilience is the distance between drifting and returning. Make that distance shorter. For the next 72 hours, create 3 pieces of evidence. First, change one physical cue in your environment. Second, complete one action connected to the future you want. Third, refuse one behavior that keeps the old story alive. These 3 pieces of evidence will do more for self-trust than another week of thinking. Do not announce all 3 actions. Protect them. Some beginnings weaken under too much outside opinion. Let consistency make the announcement later. You are not hiding. You are allowing the roots to become stronger than the need for approval. And now the final meaning of 811 becomes clear. 8 is the strength you gathered. The first one is the choice you make privately. The second one is the action that makes the choice visible. The number is not asking you to wait for a new life. It is asking you to stop feeding the old one. Before you go, answer the question from the beginning. What were you thinking about the last time you saw 811? Name it. Then ask, what is one honest action available to me now? Do not demand the entire map. Take the step that is already visible. Everything you heard may feel familiar because some part of you already knew it. You did not need a number to control your future. You needed a moment that interrupted the old pattern long enough for you to hear yourself again. Your new season begins when your choices start agreeing with the person you are becoming. Not when fear disappears. Not when everybody understands. Not when the perfect sign arrives. It begins when you keep the lesson, choose the direction, and prove it with one action. Write this in the comments. I am entering my new season. Let it be a decision, not a prediction. Like this message if it gave you one clear next step, and subscribe for more spiritual motivation grounded in truth, wisdom, and action. When 811 appears again, pause. 8 minutes. One truth. One action. Then move.